All right, so today we're gonna change the oil on the old dozer. And of course, I just pulled it off that job. It was in the mud and it is everywhere. I need to power wash all this. The final drives I think I need to change the oil on. I need to check. I think it's 2,500 hours. I think you're supposed to service that and change it. And this here's got all oil in it too. It's all oil bath. The way the tracks pivot. So it was almost time to change the oil when I took it on that job, and I almost did it before I left with it. I wish I would have now, because now I get to power wash it for, I don't know, an hour. So we'll get a power wash, get it in the shop, and do kind of a review slash overlook at it. In case you, I mean, they don't make the D5N anymore, but in case you're looking for that size machine used, I think they're a great machine. But we'll get a power wash, get it in the shop, get the oil draining on it. I got it all cleaned off. That's an hour and a half of my life I'll never get back. And I'll hit it one more time before I pull it in the shop, because when you take all these off, all that dirt, it gets down in there and you want it really clean. But I generally flip it up as high as I can like that and wash the radiator out with the garden hose for a while till clean water runs out of it. So do that, and I'll probably let it sit overnight and pull it in the shop in the morning and start changing oil and going over everything. So clean the radiator out. Here we go. So I've already been cleaning this out for a little bit, but I'm gonna put the camera in here, just see how bad it really is. I don't know how much you're gonna be able to see. All right, so I got it in here. It's all got it dry. You know what I mean? The water splashed me in the face, mud on my pants and all that. Easy like a Sunday morning. But I like to, you know, keep track of how much oil these things are burning. You can see maybe it's right at the add mark, which I think last time I checked, and it's black. Like I say, it's got 250 hours on it, I think. 240. I usually always change all the equipment at the end. If you do the hours on it, they recommend 500. You know, and you can do oil samples, and one of the reasons is well, I'm fixing to show you. The little Telltale up here. I've noticed that this last go around it hadn't moved. And last week when I was doing that big pad, it was real dusty, and you know, you clean the filters out every morning, and it had a lot of dirt in there, and it never showed that it was pulling vacuum. And I thought that was kind of weird, so I was wanting, you know, it's last time I changed oil, it wasn't low at all at 250, and now it wants a little bit of oil, which is, you know, kind of strange. Most of the time when you're out on locations, the machine's never level. It's hard to tell exactly where it's setting. You know, you just check and make sure it's got oil in it. But anyways, so I did a little investigation, and here's your little tattletale. Looks like a rat has chewed it up, and I'm hoping, but I doubt, there's a filter in there. You know, they got them little mesh screens on the back side of them plastic housings in case it cracks. The dirt starts going in there, it stops that screen up, no harm, no foul. But I don't think this has got one in that little brass ferrule fitting. So I'm gonna take it off and look at that intake pipe and see how dirty it is, and hopefully I caught it early. I mean, I'm sure the reason it's burning oil is because them filters were dirty and it starts pulling vacuum, and you know it's going to burn oil if you run dirty filters. That's just how it works. But I got a lot of other stuff to do to it today. These in-cab filters, it's been trying to freeze up. I know they're stopped up. You got to take all kinds of stuff off to get to them. That's kind of stupid. I didn't like that. These are the outside cab filters. I cleaned them out on that job a couple times. I mean, there's like that's an inch of dust down in there. So I know the in-cab filters are stopped up. It's trying to suck air through those. And I'm gonna change the final drives. I got lucky on this side. It just happened to be perfect. So we'll get in here and I'll start making a list of stuff that I like about it. Some of the stuff I don't, which that'll be a short list. We'll get the oil draining, and like I say, I'll start making lists as I'm working on it and point out some stuff. You can't go buy a D5N new. They quit making them 07, 06 or 7. This is a 6. I really like the machine. I had a D41P Komatsu before this one, and it had its advantages. The D41P will angle the blade so hard that the blade will touch the track. I mean, it's because it's not center on the blade, it's offset, and you can haul it legal. And it's a 32,000 pound machine with no ripper, somewhere in there, 32 with a ripper, cab and everything. And it would dig a ditch. I mean, you'd spin that thing around, it would roll just right on over. And pushing on trees, when you angle it real hard, it'd push almost 8 foot in the air. But you know, that's kind of hard on them cylinder nuts on the end of the ram. It'll pull them off there. But anyways, you just have to cut them off and machine shop rethread and put a bolt in there. But anyways, we'll get started. Put it on time lapse. We'll get started. Let me know if you guys even want to see any more of this stuff. I do, you know, a lot of maintenance work on the equipment, usually on the weekends or late nights. So I don't generally make videos of it, just because, you know. So it looks like I got lucky. Inside of there is clean. It was already stopped up, so must be a choke point like right inside here with this. I'll take this fitting on apart, but inside of this right here, I don't know if you can see that or not. See how shiny that is? And then I just blowed on it and it shot a little bit of dirt out, so I'm hoping I got lucky and it stopped up inside here. But best news I've heard all day. So we'll power through it, continue on. So I was going to take the pipe off the other side, but it looks like it's going to be really hard to get back on there. It's never been off. Let's see. You can see that barely discoloration. Right. It's like a little trail, like a slug trail. So it was sucking a little bit of dust for a little bit, but I don't think it's nothing to be too concerned about. And that's why a lot of people do oil sampling, I think, because if you did oil sample on this, it'd come back probably high silica content, which would mean you've got an air leak. And I think that's why a lot of people do it. That way, if it comes back high silica, you know, you better start hunting to find it, because if not, air leak like that, like especially if somebody took your air filter off or holding a filter, bypassing water, it'll burn a motor down fast. You'll start guzzling oil, lose power. I mean, you'll just blow by. So we'll put the side, I'm gonna leave the side cover off, and the bottom pan where the oil's draining out off, and power wash all the dirt and everything out of there. It's got some sticks in it. Part of the problem was this little muffler flapper. I made this out of an old barbecue grill, stainless steel. Just cut the lid off of it, made me a donut. But the problem is there's about an inch gap. I ain't gonna be able to get it off, but there's about an inch gap all the way around this. And when you got into timber, right, pushing timber, you know, the top of this muffler up here has got like a 1-inch lip all the way around it. So basically, when you got into cedar trees and everything, don't fall down. When you got into the cedar trees, it would just shake all them little needles down there on top of that muffler. And every time you got out of the machine, it smelled like a campfire. And it was just raining all down on the valve covers and, you know, filling the pan up. So I made that little donut to keep the leaves and sticks from going. I don't know how to never caught on fire, like the big time recall, but it's pretty lucky. I guess a muffler don't get as hot as you think it does, but it was charring them. It was turning them into charcoal. So anyways, I'm gonna pull the crankcase vent out and look at it, clean it out. It's probably never been changed. This machine's only got 2,500 hours on it. I got real lucky. I looked for it for almost 2 years before I found it. And then, so we'll continue on. All right, so we took the end cab filters off, cleaned them out. They were super dirty. I'm sure once they stop up, they start pulling air from the outside, and that's why them ones were, I mean, there was like an inch of dirt in the bottom of that housing it sits in. And I've noticed ever since I've had this dozer, when you run air conditioner, it gets the floor wet. You know, I figured that the drain tubes probably stopped up full of dirt or something. Mud daubers, you know, they're awesome little creatures. So when I had the filters out, I started looking around trying to find the drain. Well, there it is. Problem was, it was laying down here on the valve cover where it come unhooked, and so the drain was just puking the water out by the filters. So I found the hose and figured out where it went and stuck it back in there. I'm just gonna put it all back together, and then I'm gonna take the like I say, it was laying down there by the hook on the back side of that valve cover. So I'm gonna take the crankcase vent off. I've never done that before. Check it out, make sure it ain't building up pressure inside the crankcase, because then it'll, you know, it'll start blowing seals and shit. It's just something you really need to look at. I would run the valve lash on it. It's not noisy. Probably wouldn't hurt. I might do that this winter. When I start getting slow, I'll pull it back in here and work on it. One of the things about this, I'll go over some of the stuff I like and don't like. I like it because it's a high track. The other dozers I had were direct drives, and you think, well, it's either pushing or it's dying, and that's true. But it don't really stay in the max torque and horsepower range with a direct drive unless you can keep it revved up all the time. When you start bumping trees and letting out of the clutch, it's not the same. And I didn't really realize it until I got this machine with a torque converter. And when you bump something like a tree like that, or pushing dirt, or more specifically a tree, because you'll feel that motor load up, and it just as soon as almost the tracks start turning, when it's biting hard in grass and dirt, right before them tracks start spinning is when you're putting the most power to the ground. Once the track starts spinning, it's done. It's still pushing, but it's not as hard. So loading the power up on that torque converter to transfer it to the ground is real important. This dozer pushes really hard. I had a D41P Komatsu, had a lot of hours on it, but I thought that dozer was a hoss, you know. And this one I like better. They both push really great. The 41's got its advantages with the tilt on the blade and all that, but I like Caterpillars. I think they push harder. They burn a little more fuel than like John Deere's and stuff. Some friends of mine have had them. They've had cats, you know. We compare notes or whatever, you know, talk. And I really like cat equipment. The parts are easy to find. And, you know, I mean, Deere's, I love their motors. They're real fuel efficient. You know, at the end of the day, you're getting paid by the hour. So if the Caterpillar pushes more, then technically you're losing money. But, you know, I don't have to work on you're gonna have to work on everything, regardless of what it is. You're gonna have a hose blowed, you know, the rats are going to get in there and tear some stuff up. But the only thing, it's got a 3126, right? Which is, you know, these in truck engines can go as hot as 330 horsepower. This is detuned to 121. I don't know what the torque specs are. It's probably in the 400s, I would guess. I'll do some research on that, maybe look. It doesn't really matter, but it's a super detuned motor. Okay, so it's harder to tear them up than when you get one that's at the top of the horsepower range. The only thing I don't like about the 3126 is the Huey. You know, it's got the high pressure oil injection, what fires the injectors. You know, you just got low fuel pressure goes into the injector, and then the Huey puts engine oil at like 3,000 psi, and that's what loads the injector up and sprays the nozzle in the diesel. It's got like a plunger in there somehow. I don't, you know, I've never worked on them, don't really know 100% sure how they work, but that's how it converts the diesel to high pressure. So with that being said, you're dual purposing your oil. You know, engine oil really wasn't designed for high pressure, right? Hydraulic oil was. So, and that's another reason on these Huey, anything Huey like your, you know, Fords and Internationals, you really need to stay on top of your oil changes. Don't let it go real long. It's not good. And like right now we're going into winter and I'm changing oil on it, so it's gonna be harder to start this winter just because that oil's gonna be so thick. You know, it's that pump's pushing that oil at high pressures to make the injectors fire. If it's real cold, it gets harder and harder for them to start. That's one thing I will say about, you know, the commoners like the Cummins, that D41P I had. It was a 5.9. It was a P pump, pretty much. It didn't matter how cold it was, it'd start. You know, any of them old Dodges, even if you don't, like I never plug mine in, they always start. I'm in Oklahoma, it doesn't get super cold, but even 8 degrees below, you know, them Dodges will start. You know, them Fords, good luck. You know, you bet it gets down below 30, you better be plugging them in. So that's some of the drawbacks of this machine, other than that they just don't make them anymore. But I really like the high track. It seems to really push hard. I'd recommend it. At the end of the day, it's, you know, if you find a 700 Deere that's got low hours and been taken care of, I would have bought that, you know. But I found this one and jumped on it, and so far so good. But as far as the undercarriage goes, I don't think anything but a high track. I think you'll get more hours out of them, but you know, that's just my opinion. So I'll get back to working, putting this all back together. Maybe I can come up with some more points or make a separate video or something. So back to the grind. That took forever to get all that mud out of there. It was like solid from there to there. I was just gonna chop it off, but it's got some kind of like a anti-mud dauber device in it. I might cut that off a little bit shorter so they can't get in there. But anyways, heated it up, crammed it in there. So we'll put this back on there, fill it full of oil. I actually don't have any air filters for it, so I'll have to order some, send my wife after them tomorrow. I got everything cleaned up. I'll go ahead and run it tomorrow and then put new air filters in it. But finish the final drives, put some oil in it. All right, so I got this, let it drain, put the plug in there. The oil's pretty black. It's not real black. I mean, looks pretty good. But as a general rule, when I drain something that don't have a filter on it, I'll clean the pan out really good. Like wipe it out with brake clean and then let it sit for a while. When I work on these, I don't ever get in a hurry. I mean, I've been out here for 4 or 5 hours jacking around. Anyways, I'll drain this oil out real slow and I'll see if there's any flake in the bottom of it. If it sit there all night, when I pull that plug out, it would have dumped into the pan. And then when I pour it out outside, I can look and see if there's any flake in it or not. I mean, there's not a whole lot you can do, but you can keep an eye on it. In case, you know, your final drive's fixing to go out or something, or this applies to all kinds of different stuff. But just a good way of preparing yourself for the cost you're about to endure. So we'll dump it out slow and look and see if there's anything in the bottom of it, but I doubt it. That oil's pretty clean. All right, I got the final drives finished. I poured the oil out. This side, there wasn't no flakes, there wasn't no glitter at all. There was just a little bit of metal on the magnet, which is, you know, normal. This side was even a little bit cleaner, had even less metal. I wanted to change oil in here. I didn't get to it. It's already getting late. I'm not sure if this whole thing that's in oil too, but I think it might be two separate. I need to read a little more, make sure. But I was wanting to change that today, didn't get to it. You know, I just kind of been out here hee-hawing around. I don't get in any real big hurries when I do these, because I like to make sure there ain't no cracks or anything, kind of like this. It's like that on both sides. I'm pretty sure it's a paint, but I'm gonna wire wheel it and look and see and squirt some more paint on there, keep an eye on it. But I run out of oil, so I had to run to town, got some oil, and luckily O'Reilly's had that 1/8 inch plastic line. It's the same as like your old school oil gauges and boost gauges and stuff. And so luckily they had some of that in the Union. So got it all back together. I was just going to ride with like a plug on it or something for tomorrow until I could get the but it's all together. One of the other things I did to this machine is I put 2 layers of expanded metal on the front of it, because it's like a 1-inch hole, and them cedar trees and the branches, you know, you're really blind to what you can see. The blade is way down here, so you can't see none of that. If I didn't have my Spectra pipe, I'd build me like a cattle guard across there a little higher to catch the limbs, keep them out of the radiator, because you can't see. But that really helps. Change a bunch of grease fittings, some other stuff. Put the cab filters back in there and topped her off, so we should be good to go for a while. I didn't get to the crankcase filter. It looked like by the time I take the hose off there, it's gonna be really hard to get it back together. So I need to take the air cleaner out probably to be able to get to it. And it's kind of dirty, and I don't like taking that off if it didn't get cleaned real good, because all that oil just goes straight in the motor. So I'll power wash it a little better, bring it in, and probably run the overhead when it gets cold and, you know, wet and it can't work. I'll bring this in here and give me something to do, and change oil and that. And there's some other things I want to do to it, but anyways, that should do it. I'm gonna fire it up, back it up, load it up, and I think tomorrow we're gonna be ripping sandstone, real hard dirt, for a couple days, so I'll shoot another video on that. So if there's something else you guys want to see, like I say, these little wood projects I'm gonna start maybe this winter, or more of the stuff I'm working on, because I'm always, you know, something breaks, I fix it. So, you know, shoot more of those videos, short videos or something. That's something y'all are interested in, or just seems like all I've been doing is driveways and ditches, and that's, I don't know, it gets kind of repetitive. I don't know, I'll keep doing it, I guess. But if there's something else you want to see, comment, let me know. I'll try to make it happen. So got the grill out here going, you know, we got pretty rough. Makes it hard to work when you smell dinner cooking. So we'll finish this up and get it out here and get it loaded, head out in the morning. Until next time. So I took a wire wheel, clean that up. I think that's just the toe of the weld. It's kind of bad. You know, they weld them. I'm sure it's like some super industrial pray and spray welder. So spray some brake cleaner in there, blow it all out, got it cleaned up. I'll squirt some paint in it, and I'll keep an eye on it. If it's wiggling around, I'll know it. And it's an easy fix, kind of easy fix. You know, it's all cast, big chunk of steel, so you just have to get you a heat pan, heat it up to a certain temperature, and then grind it out, prep it, and then heat it up and weld it. You know, like, you wouldn't want to just cold stick that. It'd probably just crack right back out. Be in the same boat. So these C-frames are, you know, they take all the abuse. So anytime I climb under them, I try to look and see, because if you catch it early, it's easier to fix. I've some of the first, I had a D5N, one of the first dozer I ever had, and it was an old machine, real old. But you know, you break that ball and socket off the bottom, and where it ties into the blade. I mean, you're constantly chasing stuff on these machines. But anyways, we'll get it out of here, go eat some dinner, be at it first thing in the morning. All right, so we got the dozer out here on the job. There's a few things. I edited that oil change review thing out, and realized that a few things I missed. So on these high track machines, one of the reasons I like them is this right here is your transmission, right? So, and I hope I never have to experience that, but it's right there and it's on rails. I think you pull the axles out, or however you disconnect it from the final drives, and it slides out the back. You don't have to take the whole cab off, I don't think, to get it out of there, which is a plus as far as, ease of service and everything else. But the other reason I like the high tracks is because when you're using it, all this dirt, when the sprocket's right here, this dirt just comes up, comes around, goes back down, and it gets in them pins in your sprocket and just grinds it. But here it comes out and it falls out before it actually runs through the sprocket. So, I think the pins and your rails and everything should last, and your sprocket should last a whole lot longer. And on the inside of the cab, I should have cleaned all that mud off the glass. On the inside of the cabs, it's pretty basic. I'll start it up, and say it's pretty basic, but it's got these switches that you can go from first gear to second gear, first gear forward, second gear backwards. So anytime you go from forward to reverse, it automatically, you're in first gear, forward, second gear. You can do 2 and 2, forwards or backwards, or 2 forward, 1 backwards. I usually leave it in the 1 forward, 2 backwards. And then, usually I go ahead and just up click it into third, or that's how you go second, third, first, second, third. And that's forward, reverse. When I'm running it, I don't even actually realize how loud that is until I watch some of the videos. It's kind of annoying. And this is your auto downshift. What that does is when you really start lugging it hard, it'll automatically go ahead and downshift for you. Which, fresh oil change. It ain't even that cold this morning. Put some hours on it, maybe it'd be easier. Everything's really comfortable to me. I mean, it's just a dozer, right? I mean, it's nothing super fancy. I just added these this time. It's all these new machines tell you what percentage grade you're on, and a lot of that seat time, you can tell when you're in a machine if you're getting close or not. You can just feel it after you do it, but you run them enough. But the air conditioner in this thing gets so cold in the mornings, it'll frost the windows up. Like you can't even hardly see out the glass, especially if you're in the shade, like pushing trees or something. Like you have to turn the air off because it'll frost the windows up so hard you can't even see out of them. So I'm really happy with it. I'm sure there's lots of other things that I'm missing, but I really don't have a whole lot of dislikes about it, other than its oversized load, which it's not that big a deal. I've pulled them for years. You just buy an annual permit. It's $500 a year. But here in Oklahoma City, you can, if they wanted to get onto you for pulling in curfew, they could pull you over. So not after dark, not before noon hours of 7 to 9, 3 to 6. So that kind of sucks. But they haven't really been enforcing it because I see a lot of equipment moving around the city. It's oversized, so I haven't gotten in trouble for that one yet. But other than that, we're gonna unload on this one and get started on this job. Just to kind of add to that dozer, I've been running it all day today, and those high track machines, if you're on a slope at all, those things roll like super easy. And if you're pushing on like a pond dam and you're pushing up and you throw it in reverse, or maybe you hit neutral and you don't get it in reverse fast enough and it takes off rolling, and you jam on the brakes real hard, it'll almost, them things, like the rippers become wheelie bars. When you hit the brakes real hard, them things slam. It's kind of violent how fast they stop. Something else to kind of get used to. And then the auto downshift feature is pretty cool. I know the newer machines, you can 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, really adjust it, which is pretty cool. On that one, it's just got 3 gears. And when you put it on auto downshift, once you push the decelerator in and it'll once it starts lugging, it'll go from, you know, third to second and then first. So if you're backing up a hill like you're on a cut and you're slot dozing or something, and you're backing up fast, but when you start getting close, you just rev it down a little bit, and it'll, you know, kick in the second and then first, and as it almost comes to a stop, you know, you just flip it forward and then it's back in the first gear and takes off forward. So that's kind of neat. But like I say, they don't make them anymore, but just in case you're looking for one, you know, compared to, I don't know what the comparisons are as far as the weight class goes on deer and Komatsu. I think the Komatsu now is a 50 one. They don't make the 40 one anymore. But anyways, so good luck.